Hey everybody, welcome to the third episode of Homeschool Handicraft. I'm Kendra, this is
Tori,
and we're going to show you another fun felt project. Tori likes to make things on her own, and she made a little fun thing to surprise me. Show them what it was. This fun little felt coaster that she made. It's got 2 layers of felt. She did a blanket stitch around the edges. This is for on our dinner table to put my cup on. And so I thought that would be a great project for this week. So we have a few different ideas to show you. Our first one is using felt that has already got a pattern printed on it. Can you see this? So I cut 2 circles of felt, a little bit bigger one for the back and a smaller one for the front. You can get this pattern felt at Hobby Lobby. It runs about 79 cents a sheet, something like that, and you should be able to get at least 4, maybe 6 circles cut out of each sheet. And then I just used a cheaper sheet. I think they're about 33 cents for the back. I'll show you these later on. The next one that I made was a little bit fancier. I know this is probably looking backwards to you, but it's a letter K. So I made this for myself, another double layer. I used a fun pair of scissors to cut this one out, and some embroidery on the front. And then the one that we're going, what?
you can also use it as a wall hanger.
A wall hanging or a decoration, or you could make these and put a little piece of ribbon and hang them on the doorknob for each kid's room. That would be really cute. You could do colors that match their rooms. Actually, you could do lots of things with these, but we're using these for coasters. And the one we're going to make today is this one. This side is blue, and this side is purple. So we've got the 2 layers of felt again, but both are the same size. And then we've done a blanket stitch around the edge and then added a bead, and it makes it really fancy. So these are what we're going to make today. So give us a few minutes and join on in. You're going to need some felt, scissors, embroidery thread, and something to draw a circle with. So
And don't forget the beads.
And some beads. So we'll see you later. Bye. Okay, let's see what items we need today. We'll need at least 1 color of felt. If you want to do a multicolored, then you can have 2 pieces. I'm going to do a multicolored blue on the front and purple on the back. We'll need some embroidery thread, pens, beads if you want to do the beaded one. You don't have to do it beaded, but I'm going to show you how. Also, I love my little embroidery snips, an embroidery needle, something to draw on your felt, so a felt tip pen is the best, some kind of container or something to draw a circle with that's the right size for your coaster. I've also got a few different pair of scissors here in case you want to make the fun edges that I showed you on the coasters earlier. I've got my regular scissors. I've also got a pair of pinking shears. You can see the little teeth here. Looks like alligator jaws. And this is a new one I just got that I absolutely love. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's actually a curve instead of sharp teeth. So it makes a really pretty curved edge. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and cut the blue first. We'll put I like to use scraps. If you don't have scraps, that's fine, but we end up with a lot of scraps, so that's what I'm going to use. We're going to go ahead and draw our circle around our circular item. There we go. And then I'm also going to do this on the purple. It's not going to be as easy to see on the purple, but you'll get the all the way around. There we go. So now, because I'm going to do around the beaded around the edge, I'm not going to use my fancy scissors. I'm just going to use my regular scissors. I'm going to cut on the inside, right on the inside of this line, so it doesn't show. If you don't do that good of a job, it's okay, because you can always put these into the center and nobody will ever know they're there. There we go, I got the blue one done. Now let's do this purple. You can see on the purple where I cut, for the one I showed you earlier, it's got the little kind of loops around the edges. I just love that one. I just found it on Amazon. It was a little expensive, about $12 for a pair, but with how much crafting we do, I figure it will get a lot of use. There's no need to buy anything fancy like that. You could cut it like that with a pair of scissors. It's just really hard to get the consistency. I tried. I'm not very good at it. Okay, we've got both our purple and our blue cut out. Now, I'm gonna layer them together, and they don't have to be exactly perfect. Oh, see, there's a little bit of that ink around the edges. I'm going to go ahead and flip it over so now you can't see the ink. We're going to use our pens. I use about 4 pens. We're going to hold this together. Sometimes you can do it without, but I have found that felt likes to wiggle around when you work with it, when you're trying to put 2 pieces together. So I just make like a square in the middle of my felt. So it kind of holds everything together and it won't move around on you so much. We're going to take our embroidery thread now. Get about, I pull once and twice. So let's see. I've got my little thing here to see how long this is. About 2 feet worth. Feel free to do less, and you may actually need more, as it might not make it all the way around. I'm going to only use 3 pieces of this thread. If you can see it, embroidery thread is actually 6 little threads all twisted together. So I'm going to take, I'm just going to split this apart. I'm going to use 3 and 3. Just have to be, this stuff can be kind of cranky sometimes when it's split, so you just have to take your time with it and get it divided up. Sometimes it does not like to work out. And today is going to be one of the days that it doesn't want to work the way it's supposed to. Because I don't want to fart around, I'm just going to go ahead and cut it where it knotted up. Right there. And deal with the rest of this. Oh, and of course now it wants to work. Of course it does. We'll leave those. We'll probably need that other piece later. I would also suggest, and I didn't get one, I'll just use this piece of felt, to have something to put your beads on so they don't roll off the table, because if you're anything like me, they're gonna roll. Lots and lots of pretty colors in this one. This is Bead Treasures 6-0 glass bead mix turquoise berry. Really pretty, $3.99 at Hobby Lobby, but a lot of times they have 40 or 50% off. And that's when I buy my beads. Okay, I don't know if any of you remember how to thread a needle, but I'm going to show you. First, we're going to cut this even. It makes a big difference. Then we're going to lick the ends. There we go. Then we're gonna hide it inside my fingers and then take the needle and push it down, and it magically threads the needle for you. How cool is that, huh? Pretty neat. Tie a little knot in the end, close to the edge. I would go ahead and double knot it because sometimes when you start pulling, it wants to pull through. Okie dokie. And we're ready to get started. Okay, we're ready to get started. Got our needle. We're going to come from between the two pieces of felt so we can hide our knot. Now close the two pieces of felt, come around the back, and come back through the same hole that you came through earlier. There we go. Now we're together. Now, in the next step, you've got to put on your bead. So take your first bead, make sure it has a pretty big hole in the middle so your thread and needle can go through it easily. And then we're going to continue, we're going to punch through the front to the back. Every single time we make this stitch is going to be from the front to the back. So we've got one. We'll take our next bead, put it on. From the front to the back. This is called a blanket stitch. You've got to move your bead over sometimes. There we go. And time for the next bead. On a blanket stitch, you always come from the same side the entire time. This is a really handy stitch to have. You can use it for all kinds of things. We will probably be doing lots of crafts using a blanket stitch. The best part about it is it finishes up the edges for you so you don't have any raw edges. So we're just going to keep working our way around, picking another bead, going from the front to the back each time. We're just going to work our way all the way around the circle. Now, I will tell you, you saw some fancy things earlier. Some of the other ones that I did. Let me show you what they are up close. So the one that started this whole thing was my daughter. She made this herself. I had no idea she was making it. She made it for me for a surprise for at the dinner table. I thought it was really cute, and so it's the one that inspired this project. We also thought you could use some of that fun printed felt that has all the different designs on it. So this one I used the pinking shears around the edges and used this fun southwestern design. What I did on this one is I drew the same circle, but when I cut out this pink one, I cut right on the outside of the circle, and on this one I cut on the inside of the circle, so it's just a little bit smaller so the pink kind of shines through on the back. And I used a simple running stitch. I didn't want the stitching to detract from the design, so I just did a simple running stitch all around the outside, and that one was really easy and quick and ready to go. Then I made a fancy one. This is the two pieces of felt using those fun scissors that have the rounded edge, and I did the same thing I did before. I cut the same size circle, but I cut on the outside of the circle with this one, and I cut the inside of the circle with this one, so it's just enough that the back peeks through. I also love embroidery, if you can't tell. So I decided to embroider my initial here on the front with a fun little flower. In case you want to try this, I just printed this off of Microsoft Word. The font is Georgia, and it's size 160 point font, so it's pretty big. And what I was able to do to transfer this to the felt is turned off all the lights and shut all the doors in my office and put this piece of felt up against the screen, and the light was able to shine through enough that I could trace the letter onto my felt, and then I just embroidered over it. I freehanded this little flower, and then I did something fun for the outside. These little dots are called French knots. I can show you how to do those later, or you can look it up. They're pretty easy to do. And so what I did is I did a knot from behind here to hold it in place. I did a French knot and pushed it all the way through to the back, and then came over a little ways and came back up through, and you can see my my thread there, and I just moved over to the next one. Came up, did a knot, came all the way through, moved over, brought my needle up in between the felt, and moved on to the next one. I think it turned out really cute. You could also do the beads like we're doing on this one. You could do a bead around here on the edges. The only thing you have to worry about if you're doing something here is you don't want any beads in the middle, because if you use it as a coaster, then it could get wobbly, or your cup may not sit flat on it, so you just have to be careful. So here's a few different ideas, and I'm gonna keep working on this one, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. I forgot to show you a neat trick that I use when I'm teaching blanket stitch. I'm pretty good at being able to judge distances because I've done this a lot, but sometimes it's really hard when you're first getting started. So you may have wondered what these little lines on my finger were. I drew a line with a marker about a 1/4 inch spacing apart, and you can see that they line up pretty closely with these stitches. So what you do is you take your last stitch, you line up your mark with your last stitch, and then you can go move to this next line here, and you know exactly where your next stitch should go. And it lines it up just perfect, and it will help your stitches to be consistent, and it washes off. So then you can just move over. Actually, I forgot to put, need another bead. Line it up with your last stitch, and then poke it through, and there you go. It's a little trick that helps you to be consistent. So go ahead and give it a try. Okay, so I'm running out of thread, and I wanted to show you how you stop and start another one. So I've got my bead on. This time I'm going to go through, but I'm only going to the middle. I'm not going all the way through to the other side. We're going to leave enough. You don't want to pull it tight. You want to leave just enough here, and then we'll open it up and tie a knot. You don't want to pull too tight because you're going to need that slack for it to look right on the other side. And it's so hard to tie these when they're so little. Here's a hint. You can use your needle to hold it down close to the edge to get a little closer knot. You don't want it too loose, but you don't want it too tight. Also, you don't have to snip that off. You can just stick it up behind. Nobody will ever see it. So we've got enough slack. You can see that slack right there. All right, I've got my next piece. I'm going to show you how to tie a knot. This is a trick that I learned that's really handy. You've got your forefinger and your thumb. You hold the thread in between, loop it around once, and then roll it off and pull. And it makes a nice knot for you. You may have to practice that a few times to get it to work. So now we're going to thread our needle again. We've got to cut the ends flush. There we go. Lick the ends. Stick it tightly between our fingers. We're squeezing pretty tight, not super hard, but pretty tight, to where you can just barely see where the thread is. Put the eye of your needle over the top of it and push, and it'll thread your needle for you. Super fun trick. Now, this is how we're going to start back up. Now, we're going back to where we were in between these two pieces. We're going to take our needle and come from the inside to the back, and that's going to hide our thread on the inside here. Then we're going to come back underneath this one and pick it back up, and there we go. Nobody would ever know that you stopped and started your thread right there. So we'll just pick up another bead, lace it on our thread. It's easier if you push the bead all the way down to the felt and then come from the front to the back, which is how we've been doing it. And there we go. So keep on going all the way around. I'll see you back here when we get finished. Okay, so I'm all the way back around. I've got my last bead on. You can see we've got a straight piece of thread here and a horizontal, and I'm going to show you how we're going to clean this up. So the first thing we're going to do is go down right through this same hole where this thread came through to the back and back around just like we have been doing. Make sure our bead is on the right side. There we go. And then now we're going to go underneath this horizontal thread, and see, now it straightens up and it looks really good. Then we're going to take this thread, we're going to go around the back and up through the inside. Just do the best that you can, and we'll pull it tight. Whoops. Make sure you don't loop over your beads. And then we're going to tie a knot as close as you can get it, but do not cut your thread. So now we're going to go back underneath and out through here, just right beside it. We did not go through the front, we went between the two pieces of thread. We're going to pull it under, and see, now our knot is hidden. And we're going to trim off our thread right close here, and there we go, and it's done. So there's the blue side and there's the purple. I'm not sure which side I like the best. I like them both. Have fun. I would love to see your pictures. You can have your parents take a picture of your projects and tag me on Instagram at Homeschool Handicraft. Thanks, and see you next week.